Ed Turner, and it's exciting to be with you for episode 99 of the Dogs Down South podcast. Yes, we will be getting to episode 100 either on G Day or right before or right after. It's exciting. We tried to land it very close to when G Day was happening. We're super excited. Hey, before we get started tonight, thank you so much for all the support, whether you're following us on YouTube, Dogs Down South, our TikTok page, Dogs Down South, as well as Facebook, and as well as if you're following the podcast 24 hours later, which is on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Thank you so much for your support. If I didn't mention YouTube as well, but yeah, I mean, it's been a ride. It's been a really cool ride, and we have enjoyed it, and we're blessed to have we're blessed for this to be our 99th episode, and we're super blessed to be coming up on 100. This is kind of a episode 99 is basically a hangout that really wasn't planned. Did we want to have the 100th around G Day? Yes. But tonight wasn't really planned. And so the reason why tonight's episode is happening is because anytime that I can come on and talk a little bit about Georgia football and bring a light to Georgia football in an era where I just don't think sometimes, even with the fans, with the critics, with the college football fans who are from other teams and root for other teams and, can drag Georgia down a little bit, the rivalry per se and things of that nature. That's always, when it's head to head in college football, yeah, I get it. Like, you go back and forth, you banter, but tonight's conversation is going to be a little bit about the podcasting world. Okay. So as we enter into this conversation and we talk through this, there's going to be a lot of discussion about some things that, fans could have a problem with, but specifically tonight, it's podcasters, right? Other podcasters, other people that are promoting college football. Okay. So particularly a lot of people might have heard the comments that were released by Steve Smith, right? So now let's dive into this really quick. Steve Smith, obviously, because of his stature with being an NFL football player who did play college football, and he had a pretty decent career. Let me not downplay it. I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm definitely not going to throw shade back. But I can tell you that Steve Smith, because of the fact of him having a decent, if not more than decent NFL career, now has a podcasting platform that might be a little bit different than myself or some of the other podcasters out there that may be podcasting for your teams locally, whether it be high school, college, or even the NFL or other sports. But he has a platform because of his name and what he did in the NFL and college, right? And so sometimes when we have that platform, and we may not have the followers and the amount of followers and the amount of what would you call it, echo from the rest of the world on our side, but Steve Smith does because he's Steve Smith. And so that gives him, I guess, the right to go on and just say things and do things to make it credible, I guess. Okay. So I've come prepared. I got some clips, and I want to talk through it. So the three most viral moments I think that Steve Smith is coming at in all this, and we're going to talk about all three of them separately. We're going to play some clips he had built around just Georgia and football and Georgia's offense. We're going to play a clip he had built around where he was basically bashing quarterback Gunnar Stockton. And then we have a clip of him basically bashing Georgia for the development or lack thereof, or maybe preparedness and tape preparedness or NFL scout-worthy preparedness of Dylan Bell and Zachariah Branch. So we're going to take a look at a few different angles. But first off, we're going to start with this one. So we're going to hop right in because I think this first one here is going to lead into, what Georgia fans will want to talk about as far as the big why. Okay. So it's the Gunnar Stockton clip. And so if you haven't seen it, we're going to play the clip here in a second and we're going to talk through it. But what I want to go ahead and preempt everything with this, right? this is not giving a platform for Georgia fans to come on here and go, yeah, if Steve Smith said it, then our offense, I don't know, was vanilla at times. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, Mike Bobo throwing 75 screen passes a game, and our offense was just screen pass left, screen pass right, so on and so forth. And I was the first one. There's been end of seasons where I look and I kind of assess what did Bobo bring to the table this year as an offensive coordinator, and also depending upon what did the talent look like, what were we trying to do as an overall team, and how did that outcome look? And a lot of people have said, if we don't correct the Mike Bobo thing, like Georgia's not going to another national championship. Like we're not going to play for one, better yet. And I disagree with that. I firmly disagree with that, even after possibly jumping on that bandwagon last year. You go back and look at the Dogs Down South TikTok page. I've jumped on there and talked about Mike Bobo, and I think I was coming from a hurt Georgia fan and some of it to a podcast host that just didn't want fans to just take it out on a guy. But at the end of the day, it is his job, right? And so it is a platform too for fans to jump on and just either sound the mic if he's doing well or bash him if he's coming down. Well, this is what Steve Smith did. And he used the first comments against Gunnar Stockton. So we're going to listen to these comments and then we're going to address them really quick. I'm going to share this screen here and let's listen in on Steve Smith.
Let's just get right down to it. I don't know the young man's name and I don't want to, because the way I've watched him play quarterback, hell, I'm irritated just watching it. Goodness gracious. Quarterback play from the Georgia Bulldogs. Awful. Dog doo-doo. As a wide receiver, I'm going on strike, right? I'm not working or running a route until I get a better quarterback, and holler at your boy when you get it, because I'm out of here.
This was said
head nod. You see that?
So let's dive into this real quick. So this is Steve Smith. As I was saying earlier, he has a podcast, and this is all based off of, his ability to muster up ears and listens and likes because he had an NFL career that was decent. I don't want to hear it about, I'm underrating it because it was a Hall of Fame career and things of that nature. I'm not trying to bring Steve Smith down. But what I'm not going to do is what he did, okay? I don't think Steve Smith knows much about Gunnar Stockton. I just don't. I don't think he does. And I think that if you listen to his podcast, he talks a lot about, especially at this time of the year, they're doing a lot of draft assessments, okay? And we're going to get into this in a little bit, so I don't want to dive too deep. But they do draft assessments, and they were talking through prospects, mainly at the wide receiver position and the offensive side of the ball, coming out of Georgia, specifically Zachariah Branch, Dylan Bell. And so when he says these things, I look at this and I go, at the end of the day, this is a quarterback. This is a guy that didn't demand $6, $8, $10 million and flop, right? Now, there's quarterbacks out there. I'm not going to name them. There's quarterbacks out there that have failed miserably, right? You can look at Carson Beck and go, he went to the national championship, but he came back with the same hardware that Georgia came back with. None. Okay. Doesn't matter how far you go. I mean, in a world where, production is a big thing at college football, obviously, yes. I think the team that went in and made the playoffs and the team that went, 0-10, yeah, there's a lot of difference in that team. But as far as teams that are vying for national championships or conference championships, I mean, let's just talk real right here. The same team that made it and lost is the same team that never played it and didn't win an SEC championship either. The same team that played it and lost, and the same people that didn't go to the national championship, they still don't have a national championship. Okay. And so I would look at it sometimes and go, what did that money get you? Right. I look at quarterbacks that are, I look at Bryce Underwood at Michigan that kid got oodles of money. He got a bag, go play for Michigan. And some people can look and go, did he have a rough year? Was his coach a little bit more worried about other things than football? So on and so forth. Was he given a bad hand because Harbaugh leaving in the middle of all this? Yada, yada, yada. At the end of the day, you are still given millions of dollars to go out there and fight through those things and produce, right? And I could go on and on. I could name multiple quarterbacks at the college football levels that received way more money than Gunnar Stockton did, and underperformed Gunnar Stockton. Okay. Now, when we look at this offense, I'll go ahead and I'll dabble in this for the Georgia fans. What is Mike Bobo's offense made out of? I have looked. I think we give a bad rep for Mike Bobo. Okay. I think that Mike Bobo represents an offense that Kirby would like to have at Georgia. Okay. I think Kirby is the best coach in the SEC. And I am not being biased. I think he's the best coach in college football. I'm not being biased. There's not a better coach that is producing more NFL talent, more NFL ready talent, more NFL minded talent, more like athletes that are just physically in great NFL playing shape from all levels, from players that are expected to go in and go in the first, second, or third round, from players that have come out of there in the fifth, sixth, seventh round and been sleepers and been great in the NFL. Now, you could go on the list of all the other schools. Yes, you have your arguments. I'm being a little bit biased on the fact of the SEC, but I'm being real true when I think, I'm being a little bit biased on as far as college football in general, because people could bring up Cignetti, you can bring up Ryan Day, you can bring up a lot of these coaches. I mean, I don't know if you look back at it, but everybody was on the Dabo train before the NIL collapse of Clemson. Okay. So Dabo was a guy 3-4 years ago that would be in this conversation and be like, you'd have some votes for Dabo. But I think Kirby Smart, not non-biased, is the best coach in the SEC. A little biased, I think he's the best coach in the country. I just think he is, right? And so if I'm Steve Smith, I'm looking and I'm going, man, I got a podcast, I got a platform, and everybody's looking to go viral. Everybody's looking to make the clip. This is not me today trying to make a clip. This is me trying to look out here and go, why are you using your platform to drag college football players who do it the right way? Gunnar Stockton's not hopping schools. Gunnar Stockton's not trying to get the best bang for his buck. As a matter of fact, he's sharing some of his NIL money with other teammates. Gunnar Stockton is a team player, okay? And I think Gunnar Stockton can get this team back to the national championship and win the national championship. I think he's a gritty dude. Do I think he needs work? Do I think he still needs to evolve in some areas? Do I think we need to be more explosive on offense? Yes. Kirby's not ducking that. I mean, we basically drew a line in the sand this year, and the motto is there. Last year, the motto was, and I've said it on the last episode. Last year's episode was, we need to run the football like Georgia runs the football, and we need to stop the run. We are soft as far as stopping the run. We drew a line in the sand last year. I think we ran the ball much better last year. I think our line held up better. I think we stopped the run a lot better last year. We were a complete defense in a lot of areas last year. And I think this year we drew a line in the sand and we said we need to be more explosive on offense, and we need to cause havoc on defense. We need to get a few more rushes. We need to get a few more, knockdown passes, or affect the quarterback, or affect the receivers, or make those catches hard in the trenches, right? Make them hard in the secondary. We just need to cause chaos. And I think that is something that Kirby Smart has put on record. And I think that's going to draw a line in the sand for what we want to do this year. Now, to give a little background of why I think this is huge, is because you go back to Kirby's interview a couple of days ago, and he's asked about the wide receivers, and he's asking about the scrimmages. We talked a little bit last week about how in depth about Gunnar's injury and what he was going through, some minor knee injury coming out of winter drills, weightlifting, conditioning, things of that nature. But I think he looked good. I think he looked healthy, in my opinion, for the first two scrimmages. Does that mean you're going to see a lot of him on G-Day this Saturday? Probably not. I mean, you're probably going to see a little bit of him, and then they're going to get him out of there and let those backups get as many snaps as they possibly can. But I do think when you see him, we're going to try to do some things, and we're going to try to be explosive. As a matter of fact, you hear Kirby in his philosophy when they're asking, how's Gunnar doing? How are these receivers doing? He used the word explosive 2 times, and then a third time he used it in another question, legitimately right off the bat on the next question. So within 2 questions in 3 minutes, he used the word explosiveness 3 times. Okay. I think that's going to give us a little bit of a take of what he wants to see this offense doing now, not later in the spring, not G-Day, not fall camp, not the first week, the second week. I think he wants to see this starting to happen, and that be our mentality right now where we're at this past week in scrimmage. Now, a lot of those scenarios and a lot of those, things we're putting ourselves, there's a lot of closed sessions. We're not seeing a lot of it. Are we going to see the entire playbook for G-Day? No, we're not. And so a lot of fans may come out of it and go, yeah, I didn't see really explosive. Well, I think you're going to see a lot more explosiveness, between those 4 walls of the fencing when nobody's there than you are with all eyes on you, right? We know Kirby, he's not going to put tape out there for the hell of it, right? So just going back to Steve Smith, I just think he's out here and what was he trying to say about this, right? Gunnar Stockton's not calling the route. Gunnar Stockton is running the play. I think Gunnar Stockton has a great arm. I think Gunnar Stockton has some great throws this year, some clutch throws this year. I can think back to the Tennessee game where the game was on the line and he put a dot to London Humphreys. And, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that's one of the best throws that he made all year. Did he have some spots towards the end of the year that could have been better? Yes. And he's got some room to improve. But if we're sitting out here thinking that other quarterbacks don't have room to improve, then, that makes me sick. Because, yes, could Gunnar have not tucked those balls something? But you know what? We were saying this during the middle of the year. He was progressing that way throughout the entire year. I think it got better once we played Ole Miss at home. I think we had some opportune times where Gunnar made some really great throws, situational awareness plays, and I think the play calling was spot on for that game. We did some great things in the run game, some great things in the pass game, but we struggled to stretch the field, right? Does that call for a dig at a quarterback who has probably more guts and more heart than any quarterback in the SEC? I'm just saying. I'm not talking about pure talent. I'm not talking about pure arm strength. I'm talking about gutsy, just get in there. Anybody in the SEC would look at his demeanor and his dynamic, I would call it grit, and go, I'll take Gunnar Stockton. I think Steve Smith made a stupid comment, and I think at the end of the day, when you need plugs that bad that you'll go attack a quarterback because he's doing what the coach says to do and that got them an SEC championship, let me revert back to this, Steve Smith. This quarterback that you drug was a part of an SEC championship, led his team to that SEC championship, and we are literally dragging him. I think the SEC is the best conference in college football. So I just think he's looking for something viral. He's looking for something clip-wise, and we're going to hear more about some Steve Smith stuff here in a minute with Georgia's offense as well as Dylan Bell. Okay, so the next clip I have, this is the one that he's talking a little bit about Zachariah Branch. Now, let me get into some things with Zachariah Branch. Some things you're going to hear in here is talking about the style of route that Georgia had Zachariah Branch running. You're going to hear some statistics like between 50 and 52% of Zachariah Branch's routes are screen passes, are tunnel screens, and things where he had to catch the ball and make things happen. He has very low percentages for slants, hitch routes, things of that nature. And he has some comments about some things in Georgia and how they dealt with Zachariah Branch. So I want to listen to the clip, and then I want to talk about it a little bit. So here is Steve Smith on Zachariah Branch.
Love his game. Love his game when you just get the ball in his hands. I just wish that Georgia would have given him some different routes to display his versatility. And they didn't do that.
Yeah.
And I think that does him a disservice because, right, all of what we see, all of what we know, all this film we're going to watch, average depth of target for 2025.
I can't wait to hear this.
3.6 yards. Who the hell? What rivals that? What route is that?
It's take a step
That's not
and turn.
a route.
Step and turn.
Bro, like, come on, coach.
Yeah. I was waiting for that number. I was waiting for that
Gracious. Because I was looking, I'm watching film. I was like, man, what the hell am I watching?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and give me some numbers going. I was
The fact of it is, Steve, there's a lot of his catches that were negative in terms.
Yes. Like he caught the ball 2 yards. Bro, that was a pass. He was at the line of scrimmage. The ball was thrown away from him. It was a
lateral
minus 1.5 when he caught the ball. Had to dodge somebody, so it was good. Let's get into it though. Nephew of Hall of Famer Cliff Branch, right? Out wide in 2025, 19. Overall, 18%. Man, in a slot, a little bit below 78.
So he kind of dives in to make the poke, right? That Zachariah Branch kind of had a disservice from Georgia and what they did for him in the offense. Okay, so let's dive into this real quick, okay? So what I would tell Steve Smith first off is NFL, what I would call it, draft scouting is really hard, man. It's hard. I know some of us watch, and we're getting ready. We're coming up on the NFL draft very soon. And there'll be some names that we know. I love it when you watch the crowd and it's the first round and the team will go out there and get that name you don't know and never heard of. And you're like, what the heck do we need that for, right? Well, because there's a GM and a coach and a team that is looking at their football team and going, they're looking at every single number that affected them this past season tremendously and the most, right? So they're looking at, whether it was defensive line, whether it was offensive line, whether it was creating turnovers, whether it was protecting the football, whether it was being explosive, whether it was being at the quarterback position. We didn't have, whether it being character issues with the team. Everything you look at, that's why it makes it so hard to scout in the NFL. It's hard. Now I'm going to back Georgia up and look and go, Steve Smith, it's not Georgia's job college football is already doing it for you, right? Kirby even said it. If you want perfect tape, if you want perfect technique, if you want everything like you want it, why doesn't the NFL create something to where they come in and they can develop the players and they can work with them and then they can do all that? They're not going to do that. The NFL is not going to do that. They're not going to put the time nor the money towards that. So colleges are already doing their job for them, right? I feel like there are a handful of schools that get these players that are ready to play college football, and I feel like Georgia's one of them. So I feel like that's a kind of a botched comment from Steve Smith because he's looking and going, well, Georgia didn't do this guy any favors. I don't have like spot on statistics. I did look at it before I hopped on. But I will tell you, in the seasons, I think there were two at USC that Zachariah Branch was there. He encompassed about 800 yards of offense while he was there, right? In a very, you could say that Lincoln Riley was a guy that went out to USC because he was the talk of Lincoln Riley when he was at Oklahoma, when he was an OC, when he was a head coach, and then went out to USC, was he was going to bring this dynamic offense, pro style / fun and gun type offense to USC. And Zachariah Branch, albeit maybe had players in front of him that kept him from that, he was in a high, what would you call it? Let me give me a Steve Smith word here, a high profile in it, running gun, put a lot of points up, put a lot of, running flag routes, running, deep posts, running, and in 2 seasons he had 800 yards. So he gives these statistics about Zachariah Branch, and he talks about Georgia did him a disservice, but he comes to Georgia and he has, I think, 88 catches at Georgia for somewhat over almost 900 yards, right? 6 touchdowns. He he doubled his productivity in 2 years and 1 at Georgia with this disservice of an offense, right? This terrible quarterback, too, by the way, Steve Smith. I just think, man, it's just like vomit. You're just vomiting up bullcrap, right? You have a platform and you are using that platform to make excuses about draft stock, make excuses about why what? Zachariah Branch should have got more what? Those were things that were going to help Georgia win football games and try to vie for a national championship. Zachariah Branch was a piece of the puzzle that came in and was a team player and did his job. And I do think that they will see Zachariah Branch's character. They'll see his work ethic, which Kirby Smart talked about a ton at Georgia. His work ethic, his fire, passion, and energy is what got Zachariah Branch to be a player that everybody loved and respected, right? And then you're going to see his explosiveness, his catch radius, his hands and ability. I think he dropped 2 passes this past year. I mean, that's incredible. That's an incredible catch radius percentage. So Steve Smith, I don't think Georgia did. And fans, okay, I'm gonna give you your space, fans. You're gonna hop in here and go, what could he have done if he ran different route? What could he have done if Gunnar Stockton, the terrible Gunnar Stockton per Steve Smith would have thrown more balls? I don't know, man. I don't even know right now. Like, Georgia won an SEC championship. Georgia made the college football playoff, had a bye, and was in a good position and beat a really good. I mean, Trinidad Chandler had the game of his life against Georgia in that game. So kudos to Ole Miss. Kudos to Ole Miss. I want to see if he can have. I don't want to get off topic too much. I want to see if he can have that game this year, a different offense without Lane Kiffin, and I want to see if Pete Golding can produce the same thing and not just take the wheel of the plane that's already running really at a high rate. So to wrap this little part of this segment up on Zachariah Branch is, I think that Steve Smith and the NFL are spoiled. I think they look at this and they love to pick things apart. And they love to talk about how the colleges don't have these players ready, and that they could do more to get them on film more and to get more scout looks. I mean, these in the middle of spring practices, these teams are having pro days. They're hosting pro days, right? For players that you don't see at the combine, right? You didn't invite them to the combine, but you get a chance to go and see them, right? Not have to make a trip and go, hey, can I get this guy to class maybe? Because at Georgia, we do go to class, right? Unlike other schools. Miami, I think Carson Beck pretty much told the reporters, he's like, nah, I ain't been to class, man. I think he was enrolled. I would love to know if Miami, I would love to know anybody, and I can have him on the show too, that if you saw Carson Beck in your class at Miami, I would love to know it. I don't think he even knew how to get to his classes. Okay, but that's another topic for a different day. But Steve Smith's barking up the wrong tree, and I got a feeling that these parts of the clicks and the part of the shout outs and the part of the viral moments make him look a lot dumber in the area of the college football game than maybe he might need to stick to just the NFL and not worry about digging so far deep into college football. Just stay on that surface of the draft stock. That'll help you out a ton. All right, now Georgia's offense. Let's talk about. We're going to wrap this up. As far as this segment or part of the show where we talked a lot about. I just thought we needed to address it, man. We needed to address the Steve Smith stuff, man. You got some free clips, some free follows, and you went viral, man. Bravo! Like I'll give you a clap. You went viral, okay? Man, thank you for the bulletin board material, though. Georgia thanks you. I think every SEC school will be out there going, Steve Smith, why in the hell did you wake up that sleeping giant? Why in the world would you wake up that sleeping giant? I think, but Gunnar Stockton's not that guy that's going to. Gunnar Stockton, matter of fact, Steve Smith won't even give you his follow. I mean, he would have never gave you his follow. And the people that he cares about and that he actually listens to about his play don't follow you either, right? Now, let's talk about the offense and let's talk about Kirby Smart. Okay, let's talk about Kirby Smart via Steve Smith. And I know, I can hear it right now. I don't know when the presser is, but the presser that's coming up next somebody's going to ask this question. Okay. Somebody's going to ask Kirby Smart. So, Kirby, I don't know if you heard Steve Smith's comments about Gunnar Stockton, about Dylan Bell, and about the offense at Georgia, but like, what did you think of the comments? Now, Kirby's first off going to be like, I didn't even hear it, but what did he say? Maybe. That's my first guess. My first guess would be like, what did he say? Or maybe he doesn't even care. Maybe he looks at it and go, right now I'm focused on spring practice and getting better. I'm focused on taking another day and another step forward to get these kids better because we don't have any time to waste. And so I don't have time to be listening what Steve Smith says about our offense. I need to be using that time to go out there and get our offense more explosive. I just think that's what Kirby says, right? Kirby's not the guy that's going to sit up there and now he's not going to sit up there and like go one for one. Now I'll tell you what he will do. I think he'll come. If I do think he'll come out of pocket with one thing, it'll be to back Gunnar Stockton in every way. I think he will look and go, hey, if you need a platform that comes on to get more clicks, likes, and follows to drag a college athlete who's doing it the right way. I'm not saying Gunnar Stockton hasn't taken NIL money. I'm not saying that he hasn't done anything other than other quarterbacks out there can do. But I think you can look at Gunnar Stockton and go, man, this guy has come in like all other Georgia quarterbacks, in my opinion. And there's plenty of them, man, that were out there and took the high road, the more millions of dollars, right? Talked about Carson Beck. I just watched Juju out at Colorado, who's taking millions of dollars and finally starting over there. I want to see nothing but greatness out of that kid. I was hoping we would get Juju out of Carrollton to come to Georgia. I think he's going to do great things if Colorado can block for him. If the offensive line, at the end of the day, we've shown it. And if your offensive line is just not producing, you're going to be running for your life. Maybe not in the Big 12. SEC, yeah. Big 12, maybe. I don't know. Shout out to the Big 12 if you have more total teams out there. I've seen good offense in the Big 12. I've seen good defenses. I've seen good explosive, returners. I've seen good kicking games. In the Big 12, it's hard sometimes to look at the entire conference and see the entire body of work on offense and defense and special teams. Unlike the SEC, and I will say sometimes I won't hate on the Big 10. I think there are teams out there that do it really, really well. But I think Kirby would not be really bothered, but I do think he would take up for Gunnar, who's a quarterback that's done things the right way. And I think that a lot of players would come to Gunnar's defense. As a matter of fact, I would beg to differ that within the next 4 or 5 days, you might see some players coming to his. I can guarantee you go follow some of those storylines when you click on the internet, you're going to see some tweets and some posts, and you're going to see some players come on there and take up for Gunnar. This team loves Gunnar Stockton. If you're a real Georgia fan, you love Gunnar Stockton. And you know that when you look at arm talent, when you look at, passes thrown and decision-making and all these other things, you look at the grit and the determination and the leadership of Gunnar Stockton and you go, he's got some work to do as far as we talked about it last week. Georgia's already doing a couple of tweaks with his throwing motion. Nothing crazy, right? You don't want to sit there and I don't think it's time to reinvent the wheel in spring before you're getting ready to return a very high percentage, one of the top returning returning starters from last year's, not only in the college football but as well in the SEC. You're returning 40% of your roster this year, which is huge, especially in an NIL world, right? It's not time to reinvent the wheel. It is time to just make some tweaks, and I think that's what you will see happen. But overall, I don't think. I guarantee you this question is asked, and I'm interested to see what Kirby says and what route he goes. But I honestly think if you want to know what I think he will use, is I think you will hear one of these two things. Number one is I don't have time to listen to Steve Smith, and the second thing I might add is at the end of the day, Steve Smith doesn't coach the Georgia football team, right? I am paid and I am entrusted to coach this team, get them to the NFL. But before that, I'm entrusted to develop them not only physically but mentally, get them to learn how to be men, not boys, get them to learn how to practice the right way, get them to learn how to get better at their craft, to get in better shape, better playing shape, have more stamina, to tackle well, to run routes well, to do every single thing they possibly can to be a complete player, to win games at the University of Georgia. First and foremost, it's not to dazzle your NFL tape. If they do all those things and they go out and they win games, it's going to be because they did the things they needed to do that Kirby's talking about to get them to wins, and in turn, those wins will turn into really, really good scouting tapes and really, really good examples of an NFL, coaches and scouts look and go, man, look at what this guy did. Well, and then they ask Kirby, like, why do you think X, why do you think Z has been so successful? And it's because everything I just said. It's not the job of the college teams and coaches to do the things you need so that they're ready for the NFL. Their job is to get them ready and sharpen their talents to go out there and be ready to play in the NFL. But it's not to shape them and mold them like you want them to, right? I can't take a receiver and go, well, Steve Smith wants them to be an explosive, like, deep threat wide receiver for, and that's what Pittsburgh needs this year. Sorry, you're getting Zachariah Branch, and I guarantee you, he may not have shown you that on tape, but I guarantee you, if Pittsburgh chooses to put him in an offense where he has to run those routes, Zachariah Branch will be successful. But he's also shown that he can be in an offense that will ask him to do anything and everything, including block, which not a lot of receivers do in the NFL, and including not just be a person who runs a route when he's probably going to be catching the ball, but he runs a route every single time to make sure that the play is successful. Team is successful, and overall, the team wins. And that, to me, is way more important than the type of route they run so they can get seen to be put on a tape so that you can scout them. And sometimes even scouting them doesn't mean they're going to be the best NFL player. All right, and as we wrap up tonight, episode 99 and heading into 100, this special episode solely chiming in on Steve Smith. I do want to, I said it a minute ago, and I want to talk about the offense, and I want to talk about expectations for the offense this year, and to share a little bit of the same concerns that Georgia fans have, right? You probably could listen to this entire episode and go, listen, I get what you're saying. And part of the heart behind being a Georgia football fan is there's been bad days, there's been bad years. There's been tough years. There's been great years. There's been years where we celebrated national championships, and there's been years where we celebrated SEC championships and not national championships. There's been years where we celebrated just seasons that are just not where we need to be, right? And if you're a real Georgia fan, you know what those seasons are, and you know what those years were, right? But what I think we need to understand is this game is evolving a little bit differently. I think that you can look at a lot of teams out there that are doing things maybe differently, but still not getting the result, right? I want to pull about 3 separate teams that are not Georgia, okay? And I thought through this really hard. I didn't really dive deep into statistics, but I can just name these 3 coaches and look and go, like, they've been known to have high performance offenses. High-powered, high-performance offenses, okay? Now, the first name I'm going to put out there is Steve Sarkisian. Now, a lot of Georgia fans, when they hear this, they'll go, well, what are you getting to with this? What I'm getting to is that you look at Steve Sarkisian, you look at his ability, you look at him being kind of what you would call an NFL play caller. Like, I think Steve Sarkisian, I think he'd be a great fit in the NFL if he wanted to call plays. I think he's a dynamic play caller. I think it's not built off of scheme. I think it's built off the same thing. Who do I have? What can I do with them? How do I get to where I need to be? And how do we get Texas to an SEC championship and in turn win a national championship, right? But also, in that whole scenario, and people look at Steve Sarkisian, and the first thing they may think is, it would probably look in the right hand and go, better play caller than head coach. I know I would. I think he's a better play caller than a head coach. That's just me. But Texas has had immense talent every single year of Steve Sarkisian's coaching tenure. Immense talent. Quinn Ewers. Okay. Quinn Ewers was supposed to be one of the most talented quarterbacks to ever transfer into Texas. And he was supposed to be just the guy. You know, you've heard all the names. You had the Colt McCoys, you had the Vince Youngs, but when you look back at, and there's more, but when you look back at some of these players, never the type of talent that Quinn Ewers is supposed to have. And definitely not Arch Manning, right? Arch Manning, the pride and power of Texas, Arch Manning, who, you know, was on a just elite front of when he signed. It was on the news everywhere. Like, it was tracked. Everybody was, when he go visit, whether it was Athens, whether it was Texas, whether it was everywhere he went to go visit, it was Arch Manning. Why? Because he's a Manning, right? These two guys that have come through for Steve Sarkisian have both supposed to make this team a game-changing national championship contender. Yet this offense has digressed every single year under Steve Sarkisian. Don't quote me. Go stat check it. Every year this offense has gotten a little bit worse. Okay? Why? Right? Why isn't Steve Smith talking about this, right? Why is he talking about this? I don't know. I have no idea. I'll give you another name. I named it earlier, Lincoln Riley. Man, you know, this guy was, I remember watching the press conference at USC where he was coming in, and USC was like, this is going to get us back to the days, the Pete Carroll days, right? Where offenses, there's tremendous defenses flying around. We got incredible NFL talent all around this football team. And we got this dynamic offense that is going to make, you know, people want to come to USC for years to come, right? Still hasn't transitioned into the team that USC wanted to have. And the USC is still not where they want to be as far as, you know, the Big Ten is concerned. Hadn't seen them winning any Big Ten championships, and I haven't seen them making the college football playoff, and I haven't seen them winning any national championships. Okay, just haven't. And then the third one I'll take, because I kind of sprung it out there as well, is you know, is kind of a hodgepodge, right? You look at a Michigan, you look at a Texas Tech, you look at an Oklahoma State at one time who had a really prolific offense under Mike Van Gundy. You look at a Florida, brings in DJ Lagway. I wonder what Steve Smith would say about DJ Lagway. Man, I mean, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to bring the kid down here because I don't have that platform, and I'm not looking for hot takes on a kid, you know, bringing a kid down. I'll bring a podcaster who the only reason his podcast is so followed and viral is because you played NFL football. That's it. If you're an average guy like me, you'd be having to work for your likes, work for your clicks, work for your follows, right? You're not even that. Just be genuine. I'm just bringing genuine stuff tonight. And I'm just backing up Georgia football, not like an Auburn fan, but like a person who's not going to allow you to sit there and not see that there are other teams out there that are doing those things and putting offenses, quote unquote, out there that are making players look really good for the NFL, yet still not producing a lot of NFL talent and not producing a lot of wins and championships at the college level. Okay. I go to Michigan. Holy cow. Do we even need to talk about that? Texas Tech, who has this exciting, high-powered offense, right? They're not there yet. Maybe Texas Tech becomes a powerhouse overnight. I don't know. Like, I have no idea. Oklahoma goes and gets Ben Arbuckle and John Mateer and spends all this money, and Jaden Ott and all these other people, right? And they go out there last year and they can't even run the football. The defense has to go win all the games for them, right? Talk about an offense who could not produce, right? I don't know. Maybe I need to go search up John Mateer and see if Steve Smith's dragging John Mateer. I don't know. And even per se, Carson Beck, right? Carson Beck was only good at Miami because Miami had a running game, period. Miami had a really good offensive line this year. I think Miami had a top-level NFL running back room on their campus this past year. And that was the difference in Carson Beck being a better quarterback this year. When he was at Georgia, we couldn't produce a run game. He did win some games for us at Georgia. With his arm alone, his ability to make plays, he did do that. And I'm not sitting here telling you that I don't like Carson Beck. I think Carson Beck did some good things for us. But when I look back at, is he a guy that will go down in Georgia history that I go, man, he's a dog? No, just won't. He can't go down in the likes of Stetson Bennett and Jake Fromm and even a Gunnar Stockton. And I even go back and, Justin Fields. Like, some people look at it and go, well, will Justin Fields be a dog? I think he came to Georgia at a time where he couldn't break the lineup, because how do you break the lineup when you have, Jake Fromm, man. Jake Fromm was, but what would Steve Smith say about Jake Fromm, right? I don't know. And I don't want to keep digging, but I do think that it's warranted that these people that I'm talking about, Jerome Moore, right? Maybe we can talk about Jerome Moore. I mean, is he dialing up explosive elite routes? No. He has personal issues going on. He has some personal things going on outside. That right now, I don't think you're going to have that problem at Georgia, right? And if you do, it will be a surprise. It'll be a big surprise. But these are all people that are supposed to have these prolific offenses. But guess what? They haven't won anything in college football. And I would beg to say that Georgia's still putting as much or more elite talent in the NFL than these coaches with elite offenses, period. So as we close tonight, I'm looking forward to G-Day. You can tell that Kirby Smart, I want to just speak directly to dog fans tonight and go, if this is not something that needs to be like, if Kirby doesn't read my comments in every single section of every Facebook page and every TikTok video, that we need an explosive offense and we need to stop throwing screen passes. I would tell you, and I'm going to close this way, if 54% of our passes are screen passes next year, and we won an SEC championship, and we beat all the rivals that all of us hate, Alabama, Auburn, Georgia Tech, Florida, the list goes on, and we win a national championship, do you look back and give two rips how we did it? I don't know. I think you're going to be celebrating. I think when you look back at it and you go, Todd Monken defense, I will honestly tell you, it just so happened that we had an elite defense those years with Todd Monken's offense. I like Todd Monken. I think we had a good offense. But I think the defense did us a lot of favors. Gave that offense the rest it needed. Gave that offense great field position at times. And played complementary football with a team that had playmakers as well. But I don't know if they had as many playmakers or more or less than we do this year and coming up this year. I'm looking forward to G-Day. I hope you are too. I enjoyed the episode. Hey, thanks for joining. If you haven't already done so, I'm going to say it again. Please go and like and follow us. We're on YouTube, Dogs Down South, Facebook, Dogs Down South. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. 24 hours later, Dogs Down South, as well as our TikTok page. Go and visit our TikTok page. We appreciate the support. Looking forward to G-Day and our 100th episode. As always, have a great night and go Dogs.